All right, Gigi Tribe, welcome to episode 2 of season 3. Let's keep these episodes rolling. I hope everyone is happy that Gigi is back
Yay.
and we're ready to meet with you every 2 weeks with a new conversation.
Every 2 weeks, not once a week. We used to do once a week, but now it's every 2 weeks. COVID schedule.
Exactly. COVID schedule. So, Eunice, one of the things I realized during our summer break is that we talk a lot about preschool or elementary school aged kids, and
Right?
mainly because our kids are really between the ages of like 3 to about 8 years old.
hmm
And so, what I wanted to do today was to really reflect on our young mother days. And what
hmm
I mean by young mother is not the mother's age. We're not talking about age or mom's age. We're talking about a mom of a newborn or an infant. We are throwing it back to the baby days. So I'm
Yes.
sure we have some listeners out there that are currently a mom of a newborn or an infant, and I really want to take the time to acknowledge and recognize those moms and give them some love and encouragement today.
Yes, we love our moms who are or parents of newborns and infants. We want to give some love your way.
Exactly. So, first of all, we see you, we hear you, and we know it's hard, it's tiring, and let's just be honest, even boring sometimes. And I think today we just want to create like a safe environment, an honest, open, transparent environment, and just say, hey, it's okay to feel like you don't know what the H you're doing all the time. It's
Right.
okay. And,
hmm
like every day will not be like a Pampers or a Huggies commercial where you're like, oh, you're kissing the baby's feet and they're just sleeping like an angel. Like, no, every day will not be like that.
Right.
Instead, it's more
Absolutely.
probably like a Bounty paper towel commercial where there's a mess everywhere and there's stains on your shirt. It'll be
I
more like
love
that.
that.
That's probably closer to reality. So I mean, the light at the end of the tunnel is I promise you this stage will pass. I think that's going to be like a reoccurring theme as Eunice and I talk today. But I never believed that. When people told me that in the newborn stage, like this too will pass, I'd be like, yeah, right. But now
Uh-huh.
that we have like older school age children, it's so true.
Right.
Wouldn't you
It does
say?
go by really fast, doesn't it?
It does. And actually, to prepare for this episode, Eunice, it took me like a lot of brain power to really reflect and think back to what was that like for me 5 to 8 years ago.
hmm
So, on that note, let's talk about pregnancy. I mean, I didn't know you when you were pregnant, Eunice, right? You and I just met over the past few years. And so,
Yes.
how did you prepare for pregnancy? Like, I'm someone obviously who's very type A prepared.
Uh-huh.
You're more chill than I am, but you are such an intellectual. And so, I'm curious, did you like read 20 books to prepare?
Oh my goodness, I did not. I think the only book I read was What to Expect When You're Expecting.
Hmm.
And I just rolled with the punches as they came. I just sort of dove in head first, and I just sort of learned on the job. Um, uh, Interestingly, yeah, when I buy an IKEA furniture, I always read the instructions. But when it came to my baby, I just thought that it would come naturally, and that I would get a lot of help from my mom. And I didn't read a whole lot of books on the matter.
That's surprising. I thought you would create your own syllabus, like what I'm going to finish in the first trimester. But I did read What to Expect When You're Expecting. That is definitely one of the books that I did
Was that
purchase.
one of the hundreds of books that you read, or is that one of 10 books that you read? How many books did you read?
Right? I wish I studied this hard in college. Like, who knows? I would have gone on and, had a master's degree or something. But I I'm not kidding. I actually created somewhat of a syllabus. Like I
Oh,
knew the
wow.
books that I wanted to read, everything from like pregnancy, like what to expect when you're expecting, to like sleep training books, to how to put them on a
Really?
schedule, to a separate breastfeeding book, and even a prayer book, like a mommy and baby prayer devotional. I was like
Wow.
reading so much. I was able to finish all the books in the trimesters, but I did a lot of reading. Yeah.
And did it help?
I'll get to that a little later, but my gosh, like all of that, it did help, but a lot of it, I realized you can't control. You
Right.
can't control as much as you prepare. But what else? Like, are there
In
things
terms
that
of baby
you,
products that I
yeah.
bought, you're preparing for pregnancy, I just bought the bare essentials. Also, at that time, my husband wasn't working and I was still a student. And so we were on a limited budget. And so I welcomed everything secondhand and I bought only the bare essentials. And in terms of classes, I didn't even go to a Lamaze class. Yeah, like I said, I think I was just thrown in the deep end and I had to learn everything really quickly. And it was like one of those like either you swim or you sink moment. And because I was in survival mode after the baby came, I learned to swim very quickly. And that was just my personal approach and my personal style in how I handled this.
I think I needed more of that. Like I probably needed more of you in my life at that time to tell me this because I went to every baby class. Like I was the person where at the hospital I looked up every single class that they offer on CPR and what is it? Like the
And you
nursing
took it.
class. The birthing class. I went to the birthing class. I
Uh-huh.
dragged my husband too. So we all went to these classes. And I also did what is it, prenatal yoga. So on top of that, I was going
Really?
to a yoga class. Dude, I did everything. But like moving on to like your question, did it prepare me? Like did it help? Like I want to say no, but it's like a this is what I mean. Like I did all this preparation. I'm very type
Uh-huh.
A. I'm a control freak, but I realized when it came, you can never you can never expect what kind of baby you're going to have and their temperament
Right.
and their personality, and you don't know if they're
Right.
going to be a good napper or a bad napper or sleep at night. You can't prepare for that. So what I
Mm-hmm.
realized is yes, it was good to have this knowledge, and I would say now in retrospect, like have these tools in your tool belt, but
Right.
you can't prepare enough for the type of baby that you're going to have. I mean, you just got to roll with the punches and you
Yeah.
got to be flexible. And I think that's one of my biggest lessons learned, that I came into it very rigid and thinking I did the work, so therefore the end result should be this. But no, it's a little baby human being. They can poop when they want to and not sleep and sleep when they want to.
Exactly. I think I was really blessed because my kids were relatively easy when I compared to some of the horror stories that I hear from other moms where their kids are terrible, just like nappers, and they're really fussy or they're colic and things like that. But my kids started sleeping through the night starting at 100 days. So they say that peg year, 100 days, is sort of like the magical number when they start sleeping through the night.
Yep.
And that really was the case for me. And they slept really well, and also because I think I had a sleep trick, and this sleep trick I learned from my barista who had four, or it was either four or six kids, but she worked at Starbucks, and she was this black lady, and she told me like the best thing I want to tell you is when, because she saw that I was pregnant, she told me just turn on the TV really loud when your kids are sleeping, because that's what she did. And
Interesting.
because of that, her kids sleep through anything. Like, there's some kids who wake up at the drop of a pin because their
Yeah.
parents are extra quiet. But she said, don't do that. They're going to be really good sleepers if you do this. And whenever my kids started sleeping, I would just turn on the TV, and sometimes, a little bit louder than
Yep.
normal, and they slept through it, and they're really good sleepers, and it just worked like a charm for me.
That's why I think second or third kids are such good sleepers, because there is no such thing as keeping the house completely quiet, right?
Hmm.
You have other kids that are running around. So sometimes I see these little babies who are the second or third kids and they're just like sleeping through like a birthday party and like they don't care. Versus like I was that mom for my older one. It was like a spa. Like it was so quiet. There was like baby spa music happening in the background. Yeah.
That's so cute. I love that, Sharon. I love that you were that mom. And then you probably, and I'm guessing when your second came, it was like a drastically different experience.
Oh, exactly. And now I wonder like if that kind of shows now as they're older. Like my younger one can sleep through the night very well. My older one is a little bit more sensitive. He sleeps like me. If he hears anything, he'll wake up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, but I think for me, the hardest thing was to get the baby to nap or get them on a routine. I think that's the area I really struggle. Even though I read all these books, I realized like you can't control the baby. Like they want to go down when they want to go down, right?
Right.
And so that was difficult for me. I thought it would be like, oh, okay, we are finished with playtime. I can start like shushing the baby to sleep and he'll sleep. It didn't come that easily. And so for me, nap time was such a struggle. I don't know how it was for you. However, both my kids were not good nappers during the day, but at nighttime they were so tired they conked out. So that was kind of
Good.
nice.
Good. I think for the hardest for me was washing the bottles and the
Uh-huh.
pumping parts. In the beginning, my kids didn't latch on. Both of them didn't latch on. No, no, my first didn't latch on immediately, so I was constantly pumping, constantly cleaning those parts. And also, one of the other hard parts is you're just so sleep deprived, especially the first 3 months, and I felt I was like a walking zombie and just feeling fat overall and not your best. And I remember my mom would come, and after like days and weeks of me seeing me in my pajamas and just looking horrible, right? She'd be like, "Oh, do you want to put on some makeup? Do you want to take a shower?" And
How
so
sad.
it was so nice that when she came over, yeah, I started putting on makeup, started putting on nice clothes, and because you're always also wearing like nursing friendly clothes,
Yes.
right, or pumping friendly clothes, and so um, those are some of the hard moments or difficult moments. And I think back, I don't miss the pumping, I don't miss the breastfeeding part at all. I don't miss it at all.
Yeah, I think being a new mother, like you don't feel like yourself because first you've just given birth, right? And you're sleep deprived and you're hormonal. And on top of that, like because you're nursing, you're just wearing like either you're going around, let's just be honest, either you're going around the house topless or you're just going around the house wearing like some kind of big loose shirt so you can easily
Right.
nurse, right? And so
Exactly.
you feel like a milk machine. You don't feel like yourself. You're not putting on any makeup. So it's that my husband and I call those days like the dark days. Like we call the
The
newborn
dark
stage the dark
ages.
days. Yeah, it's just so sad. And then, but to be honest, I think it does start to get easier right around Peggy, right around the 100
Yeah.
days. It's like a
Peggy is like the
turning
magic
point.
number for sure. I totally
Yeah.
agree with that.
So, like, just diving in a little bit deeper, what are some of the lessons learned from what I call, like I said, the dark days or from those newborn stages? Like, now reflecting, we've each done it like two times, right? We went through the
Mm-hmm.
newborn stage twice. What are some lessons learned? How has it changed you as a person?
Okay. I was sometimes I feel like God gave us kids so that we can understand the heart of God more.
Mm,
I was taking a bath with my 3-year-old the other day, and I asked her to wash my hair with shampoo. And it wasn't because I needed her help to wash my hair. Obviously, I can do it quickly, more efficiently if I do it myself, but I knew that she would love doing it, and I wanted to involve her and to bond with her. And so the lesson that I learned while raising kids and having kids is I wonder if God involves us into his plans, not because he needs our help, but because he wants to include us and have a relationship with us, and also
mm.
for us to understand his heart a little bit more in how he views us, because he sees us, all of us, as his children. So that's a lesson that I learned recently again.
So when I was really struggling with my first child in the newborn phase and he wasn't
Hmm.
napping, and I was so desperate that I actually prayed, like, God, please just help me, like help him to nap. Like pretty much I was saying, change this baby, help him be a better sleeper so
Uh-huh.
I don't have to feel so angry all the time. That's pretty much what I was asking. And
That is
I
hilarious.
was telling one of my best girlfriends this over the phone, crying to her, saying, I actually prayed that God would change this baby. And what she said to me still resonates so loudly. She said,
Hmm.
Sharon, God wants you to change, not
Oh
the
my
baby to
gosh.
change.
That's deep.
Isn't that deep? And
That's deep.
it's almost like, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. Like God having children is a blessing, right? So God
Yeah.
blessed me with this baby. And I never thought about like, he wants to mold me. He wants to change me. He wants to
Mhm.
soften me through this baby. And I saw it as more like change the baby, change the baby. And I think of that not just in the newborn stage, but even just as our kids get older, right?
Right.
By having children, God's also trying to change me as a person, not just, oh, like there's children in our lives and it's our job to take care of them. No, it's very much carving us to be like the person he wants us to be.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off of that. Another lesson that I learned was, well, in marriage, you learn to be less selfish and less self-centered,
Yes.
because you have to humble yourself and you have to serve your spouse, right? But in motherhood, I think it's a step further than that. It's about being sacrificial. It's about that unconditional love, getting up in the middle of the night to feed, or staying up all hours of the night when they're sick, right? Praying for them in their future while they're sleeping. It's even more surrender the amount, like in terms of levels, in motherhood than marriage, right? And I think God did that on purpose. First comes marriage, then comes the kids, right?
Yes.
Usually, and it's because, if we went from 0 to 100, if we went from single to a baby, right? That it's not like incremental changes, but you learn to
Mhm.
be more giving of yourself. And as a mother, you have to be more giving of yourself. Um, I mean, some mothers like they give up their, they make the difficult choice to give up their career or to give up sleep, if they want to
Sure.
keep their career, or to give up, the cleanliness of their house, right? Something's gotta go, right? In order to raise their kids. And for me, yeah, I think it really is an everyday intentional choice to continue to choose my family and my kids first over everything.
Yes, that's so true. And like in Korean, there's 엄마힘, like the strength of
Right.
a mother. It's amazing how much moms and dads, I'm not saying that's just moms, but like how much mothers can get done and be so selfless, right? In terms of like
Mhm.
getting up, nursing, changing diapers, do everything that you need to do. And I really think there is such a thing as like 엄마힘 to get it all done. That makes sense.
There's like this have you heard this Korean song called 아빠 힘내세요? 우리가
Yes.
있잖아요. 아빠
Yeah, yeah.
힘내세요. 우리가 있어야. Like, and we don't have a song of like that for Korean mothers.
Yes.
Maybe we should make one up, like 엄마 힘내세요. 우리가 있잖아요.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. My kids love that song. We have like a Korean CD that we listen to in the car and they love singing that song.
Okay, do we have time for sharing one more lesson learned?
Yes, because I have one more too, but go for it.
Okay, perfect. The last one I want to share is that I always have little eyes constantly looking at me, observing me, and mimicking me. The saying like "do as I say, not as I do."
Hmm.
But really, they will do as you do, and they will say as you say. It really is monkey see, monkey do. Like, for example, my kids, they crinkle their nose just like I do when I laugh. Even in my diet, they love spicy food because I'm constantly eating it and they want to try it. They're literally mini me's. And the lesson that I'm learning is that I have to constantly be the best version of myself so that they can be the best version of themselves and reach their fullest potential. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I want to be my best authentic self so that they can they can be um, they can be proud of their mom, and they could grow up to be good people themselves.
Yeah, that's so true. Even the way that I discipline, or let's just be real, like the way that I yell at my kids sometimes, right? I see it in my older son, the way that he talks to his little brother. So he could probably just tell his little brother, like, hey, help me clean up the Legos. But the tone and the way he says it, like, help me clean up my Legos now. Like the way he
I
says
am
it
guilty of that too, Sharon. Oh my goodness.
is exactly like the way that I say it. And it's just kind of like when you hear it, like you're in the other room and you hear it, you're like, oh, guilty. I'm the cause of
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So funny. So one of the other things that I learned, and I'm still refining this and trying to learn this, is
Okay.
letting go of like my perfectionist attitude. And I'm not there yet,
Mm.
but I really had to do this with nursing. So you know how they say in the books, like it's best to try to nurse for one solid year, right?
Mhm.
Like one solid year, you should try to breastfeed your child. I couldn't get to 1 year and I felt like a failure. And I was really hard on myself. And I was thinking, is it because I care so much about the baby, or is it truly about the nutrients and all that, or am I just feeling I need to hit like the status quo? And I
Um,
think that was it. I think it was more like my high achiever type personality of the book says I need to nurse for a year, but I couldn't get to a year, so I feel like ogude about it. Like really just
oh,
like, oh, like I didn't make it. But at the same time, it's like, why am I feeling that way? And I don't think it was about like really giving my kid the nutrients. It was just me setting that goal for myself because I had to. And I had
mhm,
to really let go of that the second time around. So with my older one, I made it to about like 7, 8 months. And then with the younger one, maybe 5, 6 months. But
mhm,
honestly, like I gave it my all. It wasn't like I giving up. It's like once I go back to work, then I'm not producing as much, and then it just becomes too much, like too stressful and too much stuff to do in terms of like pumping and cleaning. I'm just like I can't do it anymore. So
right.
my point to that is like do what's best for you, right? Do not be influenced by the books or your friends or the people that are like nursing till they're 2 years old. If you're doing that, power to you, but you do you and you do what's best for you and your sanity. Do not push yourself because that's what society is saying or that's what books are saying. So I had to really let go of
Exactly.
that.
I love that because I hear a lot of moms talk about this same exact issue. Like they feel guilt for not hitting that
Guilt.
1 year mark. And but I didn't feel that guilt. I
Were
was
you
just like,
like
oh
a
my gosh, I
were you a
can't do
milk
this any
factory?
longer.
Were you a milk factory?
I don't have. Yeah, I didn't think that I would be one of those moms that produce a lot of milk.
Hmm.
um, because I always sort of equated, the bigger they were, then the more milk you would produce, and if the
Yeah.
smaller they were, they would produce less. So
Yeah.
I thought I would be in the second category, right? But there was no problem with the plumbing there.
It's so funny, like talking about the other generation, like you know how when we were growing up, my mom always says, "Oh, like in our generation, it was i- like the fact that you can afford formula and give formula to your baby, that was like the cool thing to do." And
Uh-huh.
like nursing was like, "Oh, that's what people do in the country day, right?" That's how my
Uh-huh.
mom's mentality was. But our generation is all about no, like nurse as long as you can, give them breast milk, right? So
Right.
when I was nursing, my mom was just so like almost in awe and shock. But one of the things she said to me, she was like, in Korean, she was like, "Oh my gosh, out of those like 조그만 little like like boobs, she's shocked that like that much milk can come out." So it has nothing to do with size.
Oh my gosh, Sharon. That was I think you and I are similar in that respect.
It's just these are the things that like right Korean grandmothers say to their daughters. Like I've heard tons of stories like this, like comments that your mother makes as you're nursing.
I love that. That was like, I'm like, I have tears coming down my eyes from your comment.
All right, well,
Oh
those are
God.
lessons learned. What about like if we had to just wrap it up as to like what's some of our like top three advice to new moms? What would you say?
Okay, top three advice. Okay, DFD, don't forget dad. I think that's what I forgot my husband's needs. I forgot that he was also like, a father too, and I forgot his needs. It was all about my needs and my new kids' needs. And he really became in Korean chanbap, cold rice. Like no
Hmm.
one, no one really took care of him. He was just like relegated to the back of the line. Like I didn't take care of his needs, and I realized, he was feeling rejected. He was feeling lonely. In this very in this process. And so um, we did have fights as soon as our kid was born, because he felt like he wasn't taken care of and he didn't feel
Sure.
loved by me, or my or and so yeah, just I would say that was one of the biggest things that I sort of no one told me about. Make sure your husband and the father of the child also feels loved. So that's the first advice. Second advice is the same thing. We kind of touched upon this in the beginning of the episode, but it really does go by in a blink of an eye. I've had mothers tell me this. And so yeah, it really does go in a blink of an eye. So my advice is don't blink. Yeah, savor every moment, enjoy that newborn smell, take a moment to stare at your baby while he or she sleeps, because I blinked and now my kids are 6 and 3 and they're turning
Right?
7 and 4 later this year. The third advice I would give is, for me personally, I live very close to my mom. She lives less than 10 minutes away. She
Hmm.
provides so much help. She's the emergency babysitter. She comes and does a sergoji and leaves, and that's
Uh-huh.
a big help. Like she drops off dinner sometimes, especially in the newborn stage, infant stage. I mean, it's less now, but like she was the one who came, so I can take that quick shower and feel like a version of my formal self, right? And she was also the person that allowed me to get go to a quick Target run or Starbucks run, and that was huge for me. Like just
Yep.
being able to walk around Target by myself, or going to Starbucks and enjoying a drink for 30 minutes or an hour. That was so important for my mental health. I think, in mental and emotional health.
Yeah, we were lucky enough for the first 2 years. Um, we were able to live with my mom. We were
Uh
living with
huh.
her to save up for a house. And then my second kid, we didn't have that luxury because we were living in DC. And stark difference from like having your own mom there versus not having anyone.
Uh
So
huh.
it's such a luxury to have a mom live close to you. So for me, my top advice is have one or two girlfriends you can really vent to, right?
Mm,
That they can create that safe environment where you can just vent if you need to or ask for advice. I really think it's beneficial when you have a few close friends or even a sister that you can go to talk to. Right? Yes, husbands are great, but sometimes they're the ones that you're mad about, right? So who do
right.
you go
Amen to
to?
that.
Yes. And I will offer myself out there. Like, I love talking about like the baby stage and the newborn stage and how hard it is. So if you don't have a girlfriend, find me on Instagram and DM me. I will gladly be that person for you. Um, and we touched on this before. High achievers, please lay down your expectations, right? So
Mm,
going back to my whole nursing story, I really each day, I mean, in every stage that I hit with my kids, I always have to remind myself, like, lay down the expectations. Why am I setting the bar so high, right?
hmm
And then just you had your DFD, don't forget dad, but mine is also get on the same team as your husband. It becomes a problem when it's you against dad, right? It should be mom and dad on the same side, and
Right.
it's you guys against the kid, right?
hmm
So you guys are on the same team. You're all, you know, you're working for the same cause, but work together to figure out whatever the issue is with baby or with child. So just make sure you and your husband are on the same team. I think
I
that's really
love that.
important.
I love that. I love that so much. Before we end this episode, Sharon, can I ask you a couple rapid fire fun questions?
Sure, we haven't done this in a while.
Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna ask you, and just answer yes or no or whatever first thing that
Or
comes to your
quick,
mind.
yeah.
Okay. Do you have stretch marks?
Yes,
Did you drink coffee during pregnancy?
I did.
Did you eat sushi during pregnancy?
I did,
Did
yes.
you buy a whole new wardrobe of pregnancy clothes?
No, I just bought extra large clothes from Forever 21.
Oh, interesting.
That
And
was
last
my
question.
hack. Mhm.
Last question. Did you have like one of those symbolic pregnancy dreams? In Korean, it's called taemonkum. Do you know
I
what I'm
did
talking about?
not, but someone had it for me each time.
Oh, interesting. What who was it? Was it your husband or your mom
My
or
mom had one, and then my mother-in-law had the dream for my older kid. It
really?
was it was weird. Like when I told her I was pregnant, she's like, I knew it because I had this weird dream the other night and I couldn't figure it out. And she said it was something like, I don't know. And then I teased her. I was like, wait, maybe were you pregnant? She's like, no, there's no way, right? So what about you?
I think it's so interesting that your mom and then your mom-in-law had the
Yeah.
dream for you. For me, it was my husband. He had both.
Oh.
He had the taemong. Yeah, he had the taemong and my mom. Yeah, it was my husband and my mom.
Was there an animal? Usually in Temulgums, there's a animal.
My mom saw a diamond ring,
Uh-huh.
and then my husband, he actually saw kids. Like he saw a boy, and then he saw a boy and a girl, like in his dream, walking
That's
and us, like a woman and a boy and a girl walking in an airport. And literally, it's like me and a boy and a girl. And we've flown around a lot and go on lots of trips and stuff. And that dream basically came true.
that's amazing.
And this was before, yeah, the kids were born. And so
I'm
it
in,
was like, it's like a prophecy or something.
I'm interested to hear if other cultures have their version of a Temulgum or I don't even know what Temulgum is in English, like
Right.
a dream that you have when you're pregnant or right before you're pregnant that might foretell like what the gender of the baby could be.
Right. Or even
Yeah,
how many
sure.
kids you're going to have, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Nice. Okay. I think that wraps up our episode. For all of our listeners out there that currently have a newborn or infant, I hope that through our stories, tips, and tricks, that you felt some love and encouragement today. And the first few weeks of newborn can be like a roller coaster, physically,
Mhm.
emotionally, mentally. But the good news is that the newborn stage will pass, and the bad news is that the newborn stage will pass. And if you're like me, you're gonna miss it because soon those memories, those things will become memories, right, Sharon? And
Absolutely.
and I think the phase that I'm in right now, with a 6 and 3-year-old, and for Sharon, 8 and a five
Five.
5-year-old, is
Mhm.
that some families will miss the newborn stage so much so that they might go for their third or for their maknae. So for all the newborn, all the moms of newborns and infants, I just cheers to you. You're doing a great job. You're an incredible mom. You're stronger than you knew. I just want to remind you that you're an amazing person and you're going to be raising an amazing child. And I pray that you will not only survive, but that you'll thrive as a parent. And we hope that through our conversations, you felt energized, entertained, and encouraged. And if you like what you heard, please subscribe and give us 5 stars so that more people can hear about us. If you want to connect with us in our GG tribe, our Instagram and Facebook is at Ginger and Ginseng Podcast. Signing off.
This is Sharon, your ginger.
And this is Eunice, your Ginseng. Until next time, fighting!
Fighting!